You are still in the trenches of puberty and you gotta just put your dukes up and get through it. Hello and welcome back to the Hard Feelings podcast. This is, of course, my mental health podcast where I talk about things like anxiety, depression, rage, jealousy, anger, embarrassment, sadness, aka Hard Feelings. It's the name of the podcast and it's the thing we talk about. Although this week, I'm switching things up a little bit, you guys. Instead of centering the episode around one particular feeling that I find hard to process, instead, I'm starting with a song. That's right, we're doing the mental health bop of the week at the beginning of the episode because it is what inspired this week's episode. It's a letter to my 13-year-old self by Laufey. If you don't already know, I love Laufey. I discovered her at the end of December and I have not stopped listening to her every single freaking day since. Her music speaks to my soul, and this song especially really spoke to my soul. If you're not new to this podcast or new to my content, you know that I'm big on healing my inner child, and what I mean by that is just like loving her more than she loved herself at the time, you know. So when I heard this song by Laufey, Letter to My 13-Year-Old Self, and it being all about how, like, don't worry about the things you're worrying about now because you're gonna be so much greater than you think you can be. Basically, that's the summary of the song, but we're gonna go through some lines, and I'm also gonna share to you a letter to my 13-year-old self. The song inspired the episode, and also me journaling last night inspired the episode. I wasn't even meaning to journal about that, and then suddenly in the middle of the journal entry, I just was like, dear 13-year-old me, and just like wrote this letter to my 13-year-old self, and it was really therapeutic. It was really cathartic. I felt incredible afterwards, like I could flip a building over, not that I would, but I felt good after. And I want you guys to have that same feeling. So this week I'd like to introduce a journal prompt, and you don't gotta do it now. You don't even gotta do it at all. I just think it's something that you should think about, and that is write a letter to your 13-year-old self and tell them what you needed to hear. Originally I was gonna say, what advice would you give to your 13-year-old self? But that's not the letter that I wrote last night. I wrote a letter that my 13-year-old self needed to hear. I wrote a lot of things like, I understand you. I understand why you felt this way and why this triggered you so much. Like, I get you. 13-year-old me had so many big feelings she was struggling with that she just kept to herself. And now, as an adult who doesn't keep my feelings to myself anymore and talks about them with friends, family, my therapist, etc., like, I'm more able to explore those feelings, and I can recognize what I was feeling at the time now, when at the time I just felt very lonely in the way I was feeling. So I think it's a great exercise to do. Like I said, could just be something you think about, but you are legally required to listen to Laufey's A Letter to My 13-Year-Old Self. That is required listening for the podcast. So thank you so much. It's only 4 minutes and it's a beautiful 4 minutes. She literally opens the song by saying, don't you worry about your curly hair. Hi, 13 is the age that I started straightening my hair every day because I decided that my poofy hair didn't make me look as pretty as my straight hair, because I got compliments on my hair when I straightened it, but I didn't get compliments when I didn't do anything to my hair. So immediately I'm crying. And then her next line is clothes that don't quite fit you anywhere. A universal experience of puberty. It just feels like clothes aren't meant to fit your body. Like, even when you're wearing your correct size, you know how it's just like, I don't know, maybe you didn't have this experience, but I certainly felt I did not like my body at all when I was 13. I was happy to just not think about it as much as I could, but I did not like the appearance of my body. So like hearing her call out that in the song, that's absolutely something I would want to say to my 13-year-old self too, is like, don't worry about your hair and your clothes, girlfriend, because you're gonna figure it out. It's gonna get better. I love talking about 13-year-old me. What can I say? I have a big appreciation for her now. I actually have a picture of her. I'll take a picture and put it on the screen. I have a picture of her on my mirror back there. Kind of my daily reminder that everything I do now is for her. Everything I I do now is stuff that I know she would have thought was so cool. She would have been terrified at the time. I actually made an Instagram reel about this today too, basically saying my 13-year-old self, if she were to like see me right now, like what I look like today, she would be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. How do we have the confidence to wear that out? Like, I know that would be the follow-up question. I know she would think it was sick as hell, and I know she would be like, you have the confidence to wear that out? Like, really? And girl, yes, we do. Isn't that crazy? In the 16 years that have passed since I was 13, I have started to care a lot less about other people staring and what they think. I also moved to a big old city, baby. Taylor Swift's mean. Someday I'll be living in a big old city and all you're ever gonna be is mean at the voices in my head. 13-year-old me was not mean, but she did have a lot of mean voices in her head. We've still got some mean voices in our head, but they say different stuff now. And we know how to deal with them a little bit more now. That's something I definitely want to tell my 13-year-old self, is that the mean voices never go away completely, but they get less loud, and you learn how to decide whether or not they're actually worth listening to, you know? If I experienced a negative body image intrusive thought when I was 13, I would let it wreck me. I would ruminate over it. I couldn't stop thinking about that, and I would try to push it down, but it would just like make me so upset. I would like make myself cry with how much I didn't like the way I looked sometimes. Whereas now, when I get a negative body image thought, you know, it still hurts, but I try to remind myself that that's the least interesting thing about me. The shape of my body is the least interesting thing about me. I am so much more than my physical appearance. I'm so much more than my size. Like, now I have all of these affirmations I can go to, and I also have all of these wonderful influences of people that I follow online, people I know in real life who are also giving off these affirmations and giving this message of body positivity, body neutrality as well. Like, so it's easier to apply these things to yourself now. I feel like, you know, I was 13 in 2007, so needless to say, the body image that was being praised in society was very small, and I did not feel like I was represented, and especially as somebody who wanted to be an actress and wanted to get into theater, I just always felt like my body was wrong for that, and if I did eventually want to take it seriously, I'd have to make my body right, which I did do in college, and that's called an eating disorder, my friends, and it did not go well. But anyways, oh geez, I don't know if I should tell 13-year-old me about that. I mean, she already, honestly, it's really sad. I was talking to a friend today who said that her mom made her go to Weight Watchers for the first time when she was 12 years old, and that just broke my heart. Like, and she's not the only person I know who has that experience. I know multiple people who have been brought to Weight Watchers when they were kids, and it just makes me so sad that when you're a kid and all you're supposed to be worried about is, you know, having fun with your buddies and going to school and learning and figuring out what big dreams you want to follow, and then you have kids who suddenly are told that the shape of their body is wrong. It's so sad how much of I guess I'm including you guys in this too, it's so sad how much of my feelings around being 13 revolved around the physical, around my appearance, on the shape of my body. Like, I was so concerned with being pretty, being perceived as pretty by other people. You know, I just wanted the confidence so badly, and I figured I'd be confident when I was perceived as pretty. Spoiler alert, that would lead to some shitty relationships in the future, but that's okay. It's all part of the journey, right? Bert's coming to join us. My emotional support cat senses that I need emotional support, and he is correct. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Yeah, so 13-year-old me was just so concerned with her physical appearance. Like, I would spend so much time looking in the mirror. You know, I also took dance class. I feel like that might be kind of a universal experience. You know, when you're in ballet, you're just wearing a leotard and tights, and it's hard not to compare what your body looks like in a leotard and tights to everyone else in the room. And a lot of ballerinas tend to be real teeny tiny, so that was not not good for the old self-esteem either. I loved ballet so much, by the way. If you're my mom listening to this, I would not change a dang thing. I love ballet. I still love doing ballet videos on YouTube. I would rather have done ballet and had some negative body image thoughts. Like, I was gonna have them no matter what. You talk to people from all different walks of life of like what gave them their first negative body image thought, and people have all different origins. I don't even know if dance class was the first time I started seriously paying attention to my body. I don't remember what age I really started paying attention to my body, but I know when I was 13, I was really paying attention to what my body looked like and how the other girls in my grade looked, and how I just felt like they looked so much more grown than me. I felt like such a little baby. I felt like such a late bloomer, and you know, it's full disclosure, I got my period when I was 13, so like, I was supposed to have been bloomed. I remember when I got my period, I don't know if my mom remembers this, but I cried the day I got my period, and I was like convinced that I was not actually on my period. I was just like internally bleeding or something, and my mom was like, no, like that's your period, you got your period, congratulations. And she was like so wonderful and supportive, and I was like, no, I don't want to be done growing. I don't want to look like this forever. Like, because I had been told that your period is like when you stop growing for the most part, you know, like 13-year-old me had no nuance on the topic. She didn't realize that like I actually would grow like another 2 inches after I got my period. So, you know, like my body would still go through a lot of changes after I had my period, but I thought that once you got your period, that means you look like that forever. And I was like, dear God, I hate the way I look. Like, it really was, my visceral reaction was that I don't want to look like this forever because I don't feel pretty yet, and I was hoping that, you know, when I became a woman, I would feel pretty. And like I said, I got that confused. I thought that when you got your period, that meant like you were a woman and you would look like that forever, but it doesn't. But if I could talk to my 13-year-old self now, I would definitely tell her like, girl, it's fine. You're still gonna change a lot. Like, you are still in the trenches of puberty, my dude, like, and you gotta just put your dukes up and get through it, you know? But anyways, it's so hard. Isn't it so hard when you're in the thick of it to like feel like it's just all consuming? Like I said, the thoughts about my body image were like all consuming. You know, every time I saw a picture of myself, it doesn't help that like when I was 13, like that's when honestly, no, that was a little before Facebook. I got a Facebook in 8th grade. So I still had 1 more year before I was gonna have to start seeing pictures of myself all the time. But I remember that once people started posting pictures to Facebook and I had to like see photos, like full body photos of myself, I did not like that. I was very critical of myself. That's when I began taking all photos like this with my mouth open like that, because I thought if I at least made a goofy face, that was like, it's like I wasn't trying to look pretty. So it was okay if I didn't look pretty in a photo because I was trying to look goofy, not pretty. That's another reason why I like keeping up that photo of 13-year-old me, because the smile that she has in that photo, I can feel her feelings from just looking at that smile. Like, I know that she's smiling, but she doesn't feel pretty. She wouldn't smile with her teeth because that was before I got braces. I didn't have perfect teeth. I thought that my teeth were too small. For a long time, I really thought that I had abnormally small teeth and was very self-conscious of it, and I did not think I had a pretty smile with my teeth. So just like looking at that photo, and then I have another photo also on my wall of a picture I got my aura read at a Laufey beauty event back in September. Oh my gosh, it was so freaking fun, and I'd never had my aura read before. Anyways, but look at this picture, and seeing those 2 pictures on my wall next to each other makes me feel so happy, because 29-year-old me is smiling big with her teeth. Like, it just makes me so happy to see that. And I was even a little anxious in that photo because I was at an event. So to even see me in like my anxious state now still is more confident than 13-year-old me, not in an anxious state. Not that I can guarantee I wasn't in an anxious state in that photo, but it's good to see the growth. That's definitely, I'd recommend it. Honestly, if you got a photo of your 13-year-old self, if you're in a phase like I am right now, where I'm working on loving her more and like doing things with her in mind. Like, she's, you know, if you've ever heard of shadow work, I don't know if I do shadow work, right? Okay, your shadow is supposed to be all the parts of you that you don't want to be, all of the parts that you don't want to admit you are. Like, you're opposite person, your anti-hero version of yourself, if you will. But for me, for my shadow, I picture my 13-year-old self. Not that she's everything I don't want to be, but she is my most, like, shrunken version of myself. She is my scared, shy, embarrassed all the time, ruminating all the time, stuck in her head, hating herself, hating the way she looks, hating the way she talks, hating the way she acts, but like still finding light in that and being goofy and being creative and doing cool things. Like, I'm trying to see that she's not really my anti-hero version of myself, you know? I'm trying to like give her love, but also do things going forward for her. This is such a ramble. I hope that you're sticking with me, but like, yeah, basically I wear every bold makeup look and every wacky outfit and goofy pair of earrings for that 13-year-old version of me, because she thought all that stuff was cool, but she just would be baffled that I have the confidence to do it now. Honestly, she wore some pretty rockin' earrings too. Like, we definitely rocked big earrings before big earrings were a thing, not to brag or anything, but like, the way I carry myself now is just with so much more confidence than then. Like I said, even if I were to like have this same makeup look on then and be wearing the same outfit and everything on my 13-year-old self, it would have been a different vibe. It would have been a completely different vibe. I would have been scared out of my brains to step out of the house in this when I fully intend to go walk and order burritos in this in the next hour, because it's almost dinner time now. So like, that's growth, in my opinion, you know? And I feel really beautiful in this makeup look today. Like, I think this is sick as hell. I feel powerful. I feel confident. But I also feel powerful and confident without the makeup on now. So I think that's a big difference too, is when I was 13, I like got some confidence if I straightened my hair. You know, that made me feel a little prettier because I got compliments from other people. That's really what it was, is like getting the affirmation from other people that like, oh, that thing you changed about yourself is good, is gonna make you think, okay, that thing I changed about myself is good. Great. And like, now here I am at 29. I don't straighten my hair anymore. I've embraced the curls. I'm a curly girl for life, and I don't even have the desire to straighten my hair anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you have curly hair and you want to straighten it, you do you. But like, I don't even have the desire anymore. I just spend so much time straightening my hair. Oh my gosh, and my poor mother, I would always accidentally leave the flat iron on and have to like call the house while I was on the bus being like, can you unplug the flat iron? Yeah, I was a menace. It's a good thing I don't use a flat iron anymore. Oh boy, let's pull her back onto the track of the roller coaster here. My favorite line that I wrote down in my notes here from the Laufey song, A Letter to My 13-Year-Old Self, is, I wish I could go back and give her a squeeze, myself at 13, and just let her know that she's beautiful. What a perfect summary of everything I want to say. Like, that is exactly what I would want to do. If I could have a magic wish granted to me, and the only wish I could make was to talk to my 13-year-old self, I would accept that wish. And that is what I would say to her. Like, that's exactly what I would want to do. I would want to give her a little squeeze and let her know that she's beautiful now. Like, clearly, I'd be like, look at us. We're hot, for sure, but also, you right now, 13-year-old me, are beautiful, and like, you can smile with your teeth, you don't have to make a goofy face in photos. Like, in the few pictures I do have of myself where I'm caught in like a true like candid moment, I cherish those photos. I cherish my unposed photos from my childhood so much. It's so cool to see the joy that I experienced. You know, I think that's something that when I talk about being an anxious kid can sometimes come across like that means that I didn't still have a joyful childhood, when that could not be further from the truth. Just because when I was in my room by myself, I was ruminating and having some scary thoughts and struggling to deal with my hard feelings, doesn't mean I also didn't have a million experiences of just pure unadulterated joy. But you know, once you get to be a teenager and go through puberty, you start to care more about what people think, so I feel like you take, you know, the joy rails back a little bit. There was still a lot of moments of joy, but I don't know, middle school is stressful. If you're still going through middle school, You got this. You got this. You absolutely got this. But know that it does get better. All right, everybody. As is tradition, I must acknowledge how rambly this episode was in the outro, but you already know that because you listened to it. You lived it. I hope that you take the time to actually write a letter to your 13-year-old self. If you just want to think about it in your head, that's good too. I do think putting pen to paper sometimes helps things stick a little bit. You can scribble journal too if you want, but just think about what did they need to hear. Like I said, don't give them advice. Don't tell them like, oh, you should stop caring because like, obviously, it's easy for us to say that, you know, hindsight's 2020, but like, what do they need to hear? What myself really needed to hear is that I understand and she won't feel like this forever and she's not alone in feeling like this. So if you could just say those things to your 13-year-old self, I think it'll be really healing. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I'd love to do more like journal prompts like this. This one was also inspired by the Laufey song, but I'd like to do more episodes where I'm like, honestly, it'll probably all just be writing letters to ourselves at different ages. I tend to always go back to 13 just because that feels like such a formative year. As I said earlier, it's the year I got my period, so clearly a very formative year for me. 7th grade was hard, but I made it through, and here I am at almost 30 years old. Oh, what? Thunderous applause going off, horns honking in the neighborhood. That is my sign to wrap up this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to yet another episode of the Hard Feelings podcast. If you like any of the makeup I'm wearing, I will list it all down below for you. Come follow me on Instagram if you want more makeup stuff, TikTok, follow on the platform you're currently listening on or subscribe. I appreciate the heck out of you. I hope you take care of yourself this week, and I'll talk to you next Friday with a new episode. Bye!